Hey, what's going on YouTube? Stygian here. In today's video, I'm going to be going over a lot of the information that had came out over the past couple days or weeks in regards to the Division 2 raid called the Dark Hours raid that has been leaked all over Reddit. To get started, we're going to go ahead and go over some of the leak information that I had found on Reddit. A description to the direct links of the Reddit post will be in the description below. Anyways, so we can go ahead and get started. It appears that there's going to be certain items in the raid that are kind of unique and only really usable inside the raid. We'll go ahead and get down to some of the basis of it. Some of them are called the Dark Drinker, Dark Devourer, Thieves' Den, G. Phillips Protocol, and Dawn of Dark. Now, Dark Drinker appears to be a signature weapon from this leak. And what it does is it seems to restock your special ammo or your signature ammo, which is pretty nice, as in we're going to be needing to use our signature weapons a lot, probably because of the amount of enemies we're going to be dealing with at one time during any part of the raid, which will be very useful. As well as Dark Devourer seems to recharge all of our skills, or we basically have a super recharge of our skills. So, you know, we use a skill and then it's going to immediately come back up off cooldown basically. Something called Thieves' Den is going to be able to spot vanity items or exotic ones. Now, a key note to keep in fact here is that only one person can have this Thieves' Den, buff or collectible, it appears. So the person who has the Thieves' Den buff active is the only person that's going to be able to spot vanity items or even exotic ones. So it's not like the entire raid group is going to be able to spot all these vanity items and exotics. Another one called the G. Phillips Protocol appears to allow the hunters to ally with us for a certain amount of time. Now, if you don't know about hunters in the game, they're basically insane enemies that basically have the same abilities as division agents, if not better. They just do more damage and they're a lot more equipped in combating division agents. And then another power play placeholder is called Dawn of the Dark, which appears to be a character type, and it just seems to be a raid checkpoint. Basically, we unlock a hidden checkpoint at our current location. Now, if checkpoints work anything like they do in other games or raids, basically it's just a placeholder for, let's say, you get stuck in a raid, you're going to keep that checkpoint. So if you want to leave, go do other stuff, you can come back on that same character and have the exact same checkpoint. Now, another thing to keep in mind is that it appears that there are keys to unlocking these power play items. So as you can see in the text, they're going to be locked behind certain secret raid spots in the raid, and every spot is going to have a unique identifier key. So basically, you'll need to kill NPCs in order to drop the corresponding keys to any of these hidden spots. Now, the NPCs can spawn at random locations and at any time, and you have a very short window of time to take these NPCs down. Now we're going to go ahead and go over some of the encounter mechanics for each encounter in the Division 2 raid. This is going to be very interesting to see how the Division 2 handles the raid, as this is their first ever actual raid compared to the incursions back in Division 1, which honestly, in my opinion, weren't really raids. They were kind of just like, mini raids. So it'll be interesting to see how they handle it. But to break things down, on the legendary version of the raid, the mechanics are going to be entirely different. So each mechanic that I will be explaining is going to be for all the lower difficulty levels of the raid. So let's get started. For number 1, the first location or encounter is going to be the Arlington Bridge, and the objective is surviving the assault. So basically, your entire raid group is going to have to attempt to cross the bridge on a given time. One agent is going to be randomly selected by NPCs, and that single agent will be able to spot a hidden escape route that every single remaining agent will have to get to in order to get to safety. The second encounter, which will take place in the bazaar, the main objective of this encounter is to find the stolen GPS coordinates. So this is kind of like a puzzle, as this is the first introduced longitude and latitude puzzle in the raid. So the main objective is basically 8 players in the raid group are going to have to split into 2 teams of 4. One team job will be to remain fighting and securing the coordinates, and the other team will basically have to kind of flank and reach this watchtower where they need to input the coordinates into a missile and launch a missile basically. And then after that they have to wait for the timer for both teams, and each team will have their own mini fight. So basically 2 teams will split up into 4. You have to input these coordinates. Once the coordinates have been inputted, you're going to wait out a timer, and then you're also going to have your own fight as a 4-man group. On to the third encounter, which is also going to take place in the bazaar after you have inputted the stolen GPS coordinates. This encounter is called Blackout, basically where you have to find your way out of the bazaar as a team and deal with this unknown enemy faction called the Elites. Now, what the Elites do is that they absorb all agent abilities and can instantly deplete your stamina, skill, and armor almost at once. So there's nothing you can basically do in terms of running away. You pretty much just have to fight these guys with no skills, no armor, no stamina, no nothing basically. And the Blackout is basically a device. So you have to kill this device that is going to allow you to use your skills and abilities afterwards. But it's very hard because obviously the device is going to be protected by, you know, elite spawns basically everywhere. Pretty much what the device does is it just shuts down all electronics in the surrounding area. So I believe in the leak there are supposedly 2 Blackout devices that you have to shut down. Now if you decide to shut those down instead of just making your way out somehow without, you know, managing to die, if you kill enemies around the Blackout devices, you are obviously going to be prone to getting those rewards from the Blackout devices, which is going to be pretty awesome. And remember, you're still split up in 2 teams of 4, so each team will have to find their own way out from the 2 different locations in the bazaar. So after you are able to successfully find your way out from the bazaar encounter, you will then be going into the airport entrance encounter. Now in the airport entrance, your main objective is to find out about a valuable asset. Now this asset will be a JTF asset, if you remember from the first game, Joint Task Force asset basically. So they're making a return in the raid, and this is where the second raid puzzle will come into effect. Now in the leak, it chose to show no spoilers just to be able to compete in the world's first race, but it does give a hint that after you solve this crazy scientific NPC puzzle, he will trust you to open up the secret bunker around the airport, and while you're trying to figure out the puzzle, tough fights will always take place while the team is attempting to solve this puzzle. For the 5th encounter, which is going to be taking place on top of the airport parking lot, once you have found the valuable JTF asset from the airport entrance encounter, your main objective is to be able to extract this valuable asset on top of the parking lot building. Now, in my opinion, this is where things get very, very interesting and awesome in the raid. So basically, on your way up to the extraction point, you are going to be bombarded by Apache helicopter missiles and other artillery machines that'll be just shooting at you so rapidly from every single corner. Now, if the asset does die during this encounter, the encounter fails, which will then prompt you to restart the encounter over again. Now, I can't wait to see what this looks like. I can only imagine in my head what it's going to look like, but in the game, I think it's going to be way crazier than the way I imagine it. For the 6th and final encounter, this encounter is going to be taking place in the airport runway. Basically, your main objective here is you're going to be fighting the final boss, it appears. I don't know how many bosses there are going to be in this raid, but it seems to be just more encounter based than bosses. So this end encounter here, your main goal is to stop the convoy from leaving the runway. Now, the main boss is going to be the absolute definition of tanky, like tankiness. The amount of bullets this guy can take from the leak. The leak simply says, you know, he's the definition of tanky. He's going to take an insane amount of bullets and not die. But on the other hand, there's also going to be another lieutenant that this boss has. Now, the second-hand lieutenant's objective is basically to try and stall you from stopping the boss. Now, there seems to be two kind of counterplays to this encounter. One play is, you want to stop the boss from loading these cargo onto the plane and stopping him from leaving the runway. But the problem is that the second lieutenant has a passive ability that will instantly wipe out your entire team. So it doesn't seem in the leaks that there's any specific mechanics to this fight. Now, we won't really find out until the raid launches and we're able to see this for ourselves firsthand. But it appears as you want to split your teams. You want to split your raid group into 2 teams of 4 again, and have one group focusing on DPSing the boss, as well as another group focusing on DPSing the second-hand lieutenant. Because if you're putting all your time into fighting the boss, the second-hand lieutenant is just going to wipe your entire raid team. Whereas if you put all your time into killing the second-hand lieutenant, the boss is going to be able to leave the runway with all the cargo on the plane. So this will be a very interesting fight, as in the leaks it simply says this is a pure action encounter, so they haven't even really mentioned any mechanics. So it'll be interesting to see how this encounter plays out. To finish it off, guys, I'm going to go ahead and show y'all the potential raid icon that was leaked, as well as the raid location on the map. But anyways, that's pretty much going to do it for this video. I just wanted to put out this information out there so, people can start to get hyped up and excited for this raid, because this raid is looking to be pretty hardcore in my opinion. I really want to see some gameplay of it. It looks very intense with the puzzle solving, and honestly, that whole Apache helicopter missiles shooting at you with other artillery machines shooting at you as you're trying to extract the valuable asset and your gear, like, that just sounds insane to me, honestly. Like, you're just being bombarded with all this stuff and everyone's chaos and voice comms. Like, it just sounds like such a fun and interesting first experience for a true Division 2 raid. Anyways, guys, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel for more Division 2 content. With the release of World Tier 5 coming this Friday, I am going to be grinding so hard to get all these gear sets, to be able to put YouTube videos out on, gear set reviews, which gear sets work best with certain weapons, how the gear sets play out in PvP, or even how they do in PvE. So it'll be very interesting to see how, everything comes along in the next coming days. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. I'll be sure to catch y'all next time. Peace out.